All right. Hello, everyone. I'm thrilled that you're joining us again for another Work from Home Better interview. And this time I'm very excited to have nutritionist, author of Sprout Right, host of the podcast called Eat This, joining us today to share her wisdom and insights and knowledge all about how we are eating through this pandemic. So I know it's been a challenge for me, and I want to bring Lianne on the show. She's been not only a media expert and contributor in Canada for a long time, she's been a personal friend for, 12, 13 years now. And I've watched her business grow and bloom, and she's someone you need to pay attention to if you're thinking at all about how to eat to be able to live and accomplish the things that you want to do. So welcome, Lianne Phillipson. I am so glad to have you with us. I wonder if we could start with, it's awesome to see you. I'm wondering if we could start with the big question that's been on my mind is, what's up with all the bread? What's going on with everybody baking and kneading? Can you share some insight on why this is, an activity of choice right now? Yeast and flour in high demand. What's going on?
Well, I mean, first of all, I think it was because people have more time, so they can do things that they've never done before. But I also think with the scarcity being around, and that, surged people into thinking, okay, there's not going to be any eggs anymore. Well, toilet paper, that's a whole other story. But things like eggs and the flour and just so much baking, it's almost, what I think I found most fascinating is it's almost like we kind of went like back in time to, okay, so how do we make this, and how do we make this from scratch, so we don't have to rely on being able to go and purchase certain foods from the supermarket. Number one, because it was just so hard to go. Yeah. And then number two, when you got there, everything is out of stock. So not only were people hoarding things like toilet paper, but apart from that, food wise, was eggs and bread and what I found fascinating, again, in the beginning especially, where people were buying all the cans of food. Mm-hmm. But people would not normally eat cans of food or soup or just anything, and yet all shelves were completely empty. So it's almost like something was triggered in us that we had to fill a bunker, and so that we could almost hunker down. And apart from the fact of wanting carbs, craving carbs, because it brings on more of a comfort feel to it. And I've talked about this on almost every single podcast I've recorded from my closet during this time, because normally I'm in a radio studio, doing this in the first few weeks, just to address the situation of people snacking, eating 100 times a day and still not feeling fulfilled. You keep on looking for the answers in your fridge, the answers at the bottom of another, bowl of ice cream or whatever it happens to be.
So what's happening in the brain? What's happening in the brain then, that we have this hunger that we think the food is going to satiate us, but we're not satiated?
So it can come down to hormones. It can come down to those feel-good hormones, dopamine, serotonin, those
neurotransmitters.
Neurotransmitters, not hormones. Yeah. And, for anybody that's watching that doesn't, just like, what are you talking about? So serotonin, it's a chemical messenger, mm-hmm. which is also called a neurotransmitter, and it's believed to act as a mood stabilizer. So you keep going back to those foods because you think, so there's a couple of situations. So yes, there's the serotonin component, but then there's also the comfort component. So maybe as a child you were brought up, as a reward, you would get something sweet or a chocolate, or let's go, let's celebrate, or, let's make things up to you and go and get ice cream from the ice cream store. There's that emotional component is locked in. So this is a 100% physiological and sort of to do with the brain and things like that. That's what I'm speaking about here. I tend to focus more on the emotional side of things, more of the emotional eating, and keeping your blood sugar stable, because even when your blood sugar starts to drop, and then you sort of almost go into a place where I need to eat something, and then you want sugar. It's innate, it's in us, and there's not much that we can do about that. But serotonin also is important for healthy sleep patterns. It can help to boost your mood. Studies show that it has an effect on your behavior and, just a feel good sort of situation. So I just kind of wanted to say that because there is a lot of this the chemical situations going on, but you don't tend to just sort of sit there and eat serotonin to feel better. You actually eat an amino acid which comes from protein called tryptophan.
Mm-hmm.
When you eat the tryptophan-rich foods, then that helps to move into serotonin, and you can take tryptophan just as an amino acid as a supplement. But I'm a nutritionist, so I say that just going to have one amino acid all the time, unless you really, really know that you're deficient in that. But why are you not eating eggs or fish or nuts, even cheese?
Isn't turkey full of tryptophan, and doesn't it make you sleepy too? Isn't this the thing what happens after turkey dinner?
Yeah, that's right. After Christmas dinner, after Thanksgiving dinner, that's the one where you sort of go, sort of into this sort of coma. But even things like pineapple. So pineapple is an incredible food and also has bromelain in it, which is anti-inflammatory. So that's another really amazing benefit. Tofu is another one that you can get in there. Salmon, I would always say, try and have your fish cakes, have your salmon, have even a tin of, and put it into a little pita. For the past, I don't know, 6 weeks, it's almost 2 months now, I've been doing a Cook Together live series of cooking classes in my kitchen. And there's fish cakes, which are fantastic. That's earlier, so you can find that at Sprout Rights on YouTube under Sprout Rights channel, under the Cook Together, hashtag Cook Together. And then also on Sprout Rights Facebook page, you'll find that as well. And then the recipe for the fish cakes is underneath. You make a big batch, and then you just keep on snacking on them throughout the day. They're not, there's mustard in there, there's parsley and onions. Like, they're super, super tasty.
So what you're talking about is figuring out you need something. And in the fish cake, is it tryptophan that you were talking about that's in the fish cake, or is it, okay. So then you're saying, you know what?
So that's how you get it into your body.
Nuts. Right. So then you find a way to be excited about the food you're eating that's nutritious and rich. When I talk about nutrition, I talk about aiming for nutrients per bite. Not so much calorie counting, but looking for eating and filling up with good nutrients, macronutrients, micronutrients, all of that. So understanding what you're missing, what you're depleted in, and making sure those things are there. And so sproutright.com or .ca, what's it?
So to find the videos, the recipe is in my book, Sprout Right Family Food, that one
right behind you, right there with them.
And but the videos you can find on YouTube on Sprout Right's channel, and then also on Sprout Right's Facebook page. You'll find
gotcha.
My book, my supplements, that's all on sproutright.com. But for the videos, we have been doing them live every day. Tomorrow, which is Tuesday, I'll be live again at 5 o'clock. So I'm just tapering it down to once a week, because for the past, like I said, 6 weeks, 2 months, I've been going live at 5 o'clock every single day. So
I've been watching you, and your daughters have been helping, which is amazing. But I can't tell you, I mean, I know what it takes to put together this a little bit, but with all the prep work, it's been really wonderful how generous you have been with that. And there's a library there that people can go and tap into now. And so once a week now, you'll be continuing to do that. So thank you to you for doing that. Delicious and nutritious recipes. And one thing I know from having watched the Sprout Right Family Food book production journey, the photographs in there are something else. I mean, it's works of art. It's really gorgeous. But so coming back to eating and what we need to pay attention to, not eating too. So eating. What do we need to eat? How do we then not eat too much? So maybe we can still stay on what we need to eat. You were getting into sort of tryptophan for sure, but immunity boosting foods, I think, are really important to talk about here too, because if anything, when there's a pandemic out there, and in any case, we want to keep our immune system strong to fight out whatever challenges are coming our way. So what would immunity boosting foods look like?
So my number one boosting food, I mean, the term boosting, and I say this because in which in one of the podcast episodes, I had one of my mentors and a doctor on, a functional medicine doctor, and he said, let's just ease up on the boosting of the immune system. It's not like we're walking down the street and all of a sudden you think, oh, I'll just go and have a clove of garlic, and then all of a sudden your immune system is like, oh, I'm much better now. Thank you for that.
Your mentor, what did they recommend as a word?
So it really is about supporting your immune system, and that comes in many different ways. So the number one squasher, let's say, of the immune system is sugar. Sugar can depress the immune system for a period of hours. Some say 4 hours, some say 8 hours, some say teaspoons, some say half a cup. Basically, all of the foods that we're craving are the foods that can suppress the immune system,
including that glass of wine.
Yes, alcohol is what we call an anti-nutrient, unfortunately. Mm-hmm. So this really comes down to picking your battles, because a friend that I know, she has a glass of wine every day, and that for her is more beneficial to her mental health than it is perhaps as an anti-nutrient. Because when I say alcohol is an anti-nutrient, because when it goes into your body, it actually takes more nutrients than it gives to process it, to break it down, to put it through your liver. And alcohol will really take a lot of vitamin C from you, all the B vitamins from you. So when you're drinking alcohol, many years ago, actually still when I lived in England, I made up these little baggies for little hangover cures. And they always included the B vitamins and vitamin C. Very, very important, of course, vitamin C for your immunity. And when you're having that glass of wine, fine to have that glass of wine, fine to have that one drink, or maybe try something like a vodka and soda as opposed to a vodka and Coke, or a vodka and Sprite, or a vodka, anything that has that sugar component in it with the mix that you're making. Yeah. So there's definitely ways. Doesn't mean you have to give up alcohol, but just be mindful of it. Depends on your age, depends on how you are, depends on if you have diabetes or not. Of course, that into itself is another risk factor for complications with COVID anyway. Yeah. So some of the immune boosting foods, I like to talk about what can we put into our diet so much more. So garlic and onions are incredible for supporting your immune system. Antioxidants are incredibly important, and that comes from all the colorful foods. So when you think of eating a rainbow every single day, from all the different colors of peppers to all the different colors of berries, they're so incredibly powerful. Beets. I talk about beets all the time in my Cook Together series, and as soon as I hold up a beet, I get all excited and say, here I am again with my beets, because so many people never eat beets. And beets are, number one, look at the color of them. The more colorful, when you look at a potato versus a sweet potato, that color that's in the sweet potato, the antioxidants, the protection for all of your cells in your body are incredible for immunity and for everything else. I heard from another person the other day, oh my gosh, my skin is so drawn right now. I don't feel vibrant. I don't feel good. I didn't talk to her about her diet, but I would hazard a guess is maybe there is more wine going on in there, first of all. So that's taking away some of the C, which is also affecting your skin. When we see it on the surface, you don't see what's happening with your immune system, but when you look in the mirror and you see that you just sort of, your skin and the reflection that you're seeing is sort of mirroring how you're feeling on the inside anyway. But that's really showing you how your cells are coping or not coping.
100%.
All antioxidant-rich foods, all the colorful foods are incredibly important. Protein is also very, very important for the immune system. Not so much the carbs, but a lot more of the protein, and then essential fats. So getting the fish, like I said before, the salmon, make up those salmon burgers, perhaps. That's in my video too.
And do you have to care, just quickly on that point, what kind of salmon you're using to have, with elements you're not looking for in the farmed fish potentially? Are you looking for more wild salmon these days, or what are you?
As much as possible. So there's this situation with when you're buying organic versus not organic, and sometimes people say, I couldn't get it organic, so I'm just going to leave it. Right. There's not many times when I suggest that. Berries, heavily sprayed berries, those are really tricky ones. So you can buy frozen organic instead.
Yeah.
But really, you need to still eat it. But in the best case scenario, it would be farmed. It would be Safe Catch is actually the fish that I buy in the tins. I interviewed them as a company for my book, so I got to understand a lot more about what their practices are, what their parts per million of any toxicity. They have the machine. They actually built the machine to sell to people, but they didn't want it. So they said, okay, we're going to do it. We're going to can ourselves. So that's kind of their incredible story. So there are different ways that you can purchase, different purchasing habits that you can make. Go and if you can, go and talk to or call them up right now. Call, your fishmonger and say, what is the cleanest? Or if they don't know, then educate them on, I'd like something like this. I know that Whole Foods Market, for instance, they know their fish inside and out. So you can learn from them and then take it back to a more local place.
Love that. Thank you for that tip. So we were talking about what to eat, and you mentioned proteins, and then we were moving from there. I'm curious, in particular, you talked about how what our cells are doing shows up in our skin. We get a clue. If you're tired and you may not have been sleeping well because of emotional challenges now around what's going on, or perhaps just regular challenges, hormonal impact, what can people do to help them with respect to their diet and what they're putting into their body to help them have a better night's sleep?
Great question. So there is also a whole podcast, Eat This with Lianne, whole podcast that I did recently on sleep, and interviewed a sleep expert as well. So you can search for that wherever you get your podcasts. So a few key things for good sleep is don't eat too late. Don't eat and then go to bed.
So how much time, what does that look like? How much time before you put your head down and get horizontal should there be between that last mouthful?
Good question. So I think if it's possible, at least 4 hours. Generally speaking, what I recommend for people is to have a 12-hour window of eating and a 12-hour window of not eating.
Yeah. And does that qualify as intermittent fasting then?
No.
It doesn't?
Fasting is 16 hours of non-eating and 8 hours of eating.
Okay.
So the 12 and the 12 is quite achievable for most people who don't want to work in themselves into intermittent fasting. There are people who intermittent fast and they're not even trying to because they're not a breakfast person.
100%. It's so interesting because I noticed that in my family. They don't feel like eating, and I've evolved to actually start tuning into how I feel and have that feeling drive my food choices rather than some custom which sort of imposed thou shalt eat now. Or actually, when I used to have to commute into the office, I felt because I was either driving or the energy of navigating the subway, I needed some fuel for that in the form of food. But if I'm at home, I don't eat till 10:30, 11 in the morning. It's different, right?
And it gives your liver a longer time to be able to detoxify. So that foggy feeling that you feel in the morning really tends to dissipate if you can manage that 12 hours of no food. That foggy feeling in the morning of not feeling rested can be because maybe you had a late meal, maybe because you had some chips that were heavily seasoned, and there's MSG and there's more stuff, let's call it, in there that your body then has to try and detoxify, as well as everything that happened that day. Your liver is working 24/7 on things. If we lived in a perfect bubble, it would have a lot to do before we go and eat foods with pesticides, herbicides, MSGs, and all of those kind of things. So really making sure that you've got a good span of time between your last meal and then when you go to bed. That helps people an awful lot. Sometimes it depends on your sleep pattern. If you're finding it difficult to fall asleep, then I will always, always recommend magnesium. And actually, it was probably 4 or 5 months ago on one of my newsletters through LiannePhillipson.com, then I put out something about sleep. And I said, if you have problems with sleep, let me know what they are and I'll see what I can recommend. And then there was a whole bunch of people that replied and said, I have both. I have difficulty falling asleep, and then I wake up in the middle of the night
and staying asleep, right?
To fall back to sleep. Not so much of I'm waking up at 5 every morning and I really want to go back to sleep. And not as much.
It's the 3:30, 4 o'clock.
Yeah, and that's all
Yeah.
about your liver. That's all about your liver. In that, if you look up the acupuncture or the traditional Chinese medicine clock, it's more to do with your liver.
So I know from prior research that alcohol will disrupt sleep, right? And then you'll wake up at 3:34. You'll fall asleep fine, but then that 3:30, 4 o'clock, so that's your liver kicking in, being active.
Exactly. Yes. So my recommendation to everyone that replied to my email was, I'd like you to try some magnesium. And some people say, oh, I've done it before, but it comes down to the form and the type of it. So not all magnesiums are equal.
The same.
Also the extras that go into it. And I don't mean in terms of, the preservatives or anything like that. So the magnesium that I recommend it's available on spurtright.com. Magnesium bisglycinate plus taurine. When it's plus taurine, that makes a huge difference. And that's from a line called Physica Energetics. It's a professional line, so you have to get it through someone else. Through a practitioner. But then I also included my Kid Boost, which is also Skin Boost, same product, different name. That's actually behind it. This is the Skin Boost right here. So this is a superfood powder. And while you think, well, superfoods, you've just said that's really, really good for immunity. Well, also it's good for every single function in your body.
It's cell love.
It is. It is. And when people put the magnesium and this together, not only did their skin improve and they, oh my gosh, this is so much, my skin is so much better, which is lovely because again, it's on the outside.
Right. Well, we sometimes like to see results.
Results.
Yeah.
They're seeing results. So it seemed that the two of those together just took it up a notch for the people who maybe had been taking a different form of magnesium and just trying something a little bit different. So the Skin Boost, or it's called the Skin Boost, the Kid Boost, those are the same.
So I've been using magnesium. I'm doubling down on magnesium the past couple of days because I took advantage of our Lakeshore Drive in our Boulevard in Toronto being closed over the weekend, closed to cars and open to bicycle traffic. So on my bike for the first time, 30 kilometers later, going to sleep, and my muscles are so sore. Not only did I take the magnesium bisglycinate, but I also used a mineral spray magnesium and put it on my muscles. And thank goodness, because then I was able to fall asleep. Otherwise, I was lying there in pain. But I didn't need a pain medication. I needed the magnesium to kick in and help with that. So,
and right now, I can't tell you how many clients that are taking magnesium, and they come back to me and they say, things have changed during this pandemic situation. We are blowing through magnesium like we've never done before. Wow. So whereas anyone would say, I'm taking 200 milligrams or 2 capsules, I double it, take 4.
Right.
Sometimes even take 8. Now, if you did that with a certain form of magnesium, you wouldn't even get through the night before you would have loose stools, and it would just go straight through you. Yeah. But with a different form, with the bisglycinate plus taurine, that does not happen. So it makes a huge difference. But please know that if you are taking magnesium and you think, oh, it's not working, and this is what was happening with everybody that replied to my email, was sure, you're taking 100 milligrams, but depending on what your activity level, you're not having enough.
So how does someone, should they just try it and see what they feel like with it, see if it affects your sleep? It relaxes your muscles for sure as well. And it also affects digestion. So for me, it's a bonus having the magnesium. Is the taurine piece, what is the other, are there any other benefits to the taurine, or is that the regulation to actually counter the magnesium?
Yes, so absorption, your heart, how your body uses it, having that particular form, the way that the formulator put that together is just brilliant. There's B6 in there too. So it's all about increasing the absorption. So yes, taking magnesium, bisglycinate in a particular form, you take malate, oxide, all of those, that's when you end up with the digestive issues. Does not happen with the bisglycinate. For most people, it might still happen for the odd person, but that's why I made my own supplement line, because there are so many supplements out there, and when you don't know why you wouldn't. Why would you? Because that's not your area of expertise. You're not a formulator. You're not a nutritionist or a naturopath.
We don't have time to go deep into everything, so we have to find our trusted sources, right? So, yeah.
You do. And that's where, when it comes recommended from a professional, then there's a reason for it. We may just not have the time to go into exactly why taurine, why this, why that. But
right.
know that, anything that's on sproutrate.com is something, there's a reason, there's many reasons behind it. Everything that I put into my own supplement line, there are a million reasons behind it that I can't get in like a headline or two for people to understand that. So
yeah. No, thank you for sharing all that. I think what I've been talking to my leaders and teams that I'm working with about, how to be more effective working from home, making sure your rest is as best taken care of as you can, as it should be a normal life, but particularly now, because our energy is affected by our ability to attend to things and be present. Our capacity is limited by our emotional state and our energy. And if we can take care of some of these basic things, great movement, nutrition, and really good rest, then we can sustainably keep coaching our kids on their homework and showing up professionally and being a good partner, doing all the things that are important to you that you want to do. And rest and nutrition, these are all linked. You boost or support one to be richer, then you're thereby supporting a lot of other things to be better taking care of you as well. So thank you for helping me better understand that connection between sleep and nutrition and then our overall performance. There's one other challenge that people have been bubbling up to me, and this is because they are no longer in the office where there were cues around them that, hey, buddy, it's lunchtime, join us, or they'd see other people eating at their desk way too often. I'm not a supporter of eating at your desk unless it's after you've had your workout and you're getting, your luncheon because you've actually done something for yourself at that time. But what about the people who are telling me they're forgetting to eat because they don't have those cues? What's going on there, and what could they tune into to help them regulate?
We also don't have the structure.
Right.
So as you said, you would feel like you wanted breakfast when you would get up and go to the office. Well, that's the time to do it. My podcast that just came out this morning is called Lunch Rehab for that exact reason. Because unless you are, first of all, lunch is just a pain in the butt, really, at the middle of the day. It's sort of an interruption. You've got the flow going and you just need to get one more thing done, and you just sort of gloss over it. And as you yourself are eating not until 10:30 or 11 o'clock, then you're not really hungry until about 2. And then you think, well, it's sort of almost to dinner. So do I just have an earlier dinner? Leanne's just said maybe try 12 hours with no food. So now I'm just eating 2 meals, but I can have those snacks in the middle of the day too.
Are you watching me? Like, what's going on? Totally.
That's exactly what I went into. So for more details that's in the Lunch Rehab podcast. And it's just the flow that we're in right now. So my recommendation was, whenever you make a breakfast or whenever you make a dinner, then you always make more than whatever it is. And
100%.
then go and get a lunch box, go and get a bento box, and then pack it. Put it in the fridge full of maybe some eggs, some leftover chicken. I make up on Sprout Rate's Instagram, and Lianne Phillipson Instagram, you'll be able to see when I make up a salad, or actually even the video that I did in the Cook Together was one of the most watched ones, and it was for salad dressing. But of course I had to make salad to put the dressing on. Right. And the colors that are in my salad. And somebody said, can I please have the recipe? And I said, I don't even have one. Just go and buy them all. So I grated beets, I grated carrots, I put onions, I put in sugar snap peas. You can put in corn, you can put in frozen peas.
You can make salads fun. Right?
My salads are quite epic. So what I do is I make up about 4 of these containers, and then they go in the fridge, because if I had to do that in the middle of the day and I've got a deadline, I am going to go for anything that's not, the fastest food out there is peel a banana or eat an apple. Yeah. But even still, there's something in our heads that make us think, I got to go get it from a package, or maybe I'll just go to Starbucks and get a muffin, or something crazy like that, where you could make up a box of lunch
Mm.
like you were sending your kids to school, or brown bagging it like you're taking it to work. And some people may be going back to work now anyway too.
Yep.
So take it with you, or just put it in the fridge, and then it's there and you think, oh, I'm a bit hungry. Oh, I have that.
It's,
Have that
it's
ready.
about the pre-planning. Yeah.
Easier to take it out. And then you're going to have it. And perhaps lunch ends up being your larger meal of the day. Not only do you need to get up from your desk for your digestion, for your aches, for your pains, for all those things where you get stuck because of our posture of staying there. Your brain needs a break from what you're doing. And you're actually going to find that, you're going to probably problem solve about 3 or 4 things as you've walked away from the situation while you're eating. Go outside, go on your balcony, go in your backyard, just change up the scenery, and you come back feeling fresh. And also, if you've had something super nutritious at lunch, like that big salad, some soup, some of that fish, whatever it happens to be, then you end up actually, rather than like a big grilled cheese sandwich or something like that, people tend to feel
you'll crash. Not only your circadian rhythms going, but you're fueling with a sugar spike and crash, right? So how are you not going to want to nap? Or what we've been marketed to is have a Kit Kat at 3:30 and a cup of coffee and fuel yourself with more caffeine and more sugar to take you through that, when really take yourself a 15-20 minute power nap. Or if you're feeling like you could do it, go for a walk around the block, come back in and have almonds and an apple or something, right? Yeah, completely.
And also, having a structure there means that, let's say if at 1 o'clock you're finding that or 2 or 3 o'clock, whatever, let's sort of stick with the lunchtime hour. So if at 1 o'clock you get to that point and you are finding that at 2 o'clock in the afternoon you feel like a nap or you want something, then bring lunch to 12:30. Bring lunch to 12 o'clock. If you're eating breakfast a little later at 10:30, have something a little smaller. And then save room, have a large meal at lunchtime. And then you might actually get to about 6 o'clock and think, I'm not actually starving.
Right.
So I'll eat a little bit less at dinner. And if there's a situation of quarantine 15 going on where you need to balance out your weight, but really that's sort of a symptom of not eating the foods that are more nutritious for your body,
right?
And kind of getting that movement in there too. Then by the time you get to dinner, you may think, I'm actually not that hungry, so I don't need to sit down and load up. If you want to have more of a dinner at lunchtime, or a dinner at 3, and then something a little lighter later, you've got time. You can play around with these things. But a lot of the time we get to a place where your blood sugar dips. That's when you want the Kit Kat. And that's when
you want the quick fix.
The messaging is, oh yes, that's what I should have, or I should go and have a coffee, or I want a coffee, or you get hangry.
That's where like a piece of an orange would be good, no? Like something like
just something. I find things that are tasty and alive, and you don't really, when you have no energy, feel like going to have some carrots or a nice salad. You don't. It's just not, again, it's sort of not innate. You actually have to think about it. But when you do that, it's an energetic food. There's energy in
the food. Absolutely. So what you're saying is
in a package.
Yeah. We need to have some intentionality around this. And, whether it's communication with your staff now or whatever it is, we need to sort of jump in the driver's seat and say, how do I want this experience to be? And how can I make it easier for myself? What are my weak points? Where am I going to potentially have a challenge? And then how do I set up to give myself some easy options to go to, which aren't going to further dig me down in my day and make it a little tougher later on. Yeah. Fantastic.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Is there anything else that you're thinking of that people should know? I mean, I guess maybe, and this is hearkening back to something we talked to at the beginning, was tapping into why you're eating. Is there any advice or anything you could share with people to say, you know what, hunger looks like this? So, because I don't know I think some of us are out of touch with what that feels like as a stimulation, the interoception of our organ telling us or giving a cue to respond. Is there anything you can share on that so we can get back in touch with that urge to eat?
Okay, so a couple of things. If you get to a point, which most people don't, of actually genuinely being hungry, then you know that you can stave that off with a glass of water. So just go and have a glass of water. If you think, oh my gosh, I'm hungry. The hunger feeling is more empty than it is. There's a subtle difference. You can lose energy, yes, but you can sort of be a little bit tired at the same time too. But first of all, just go and have a glass of water anyway, because nobody drinks enough. Nobody hydrates enough.
Oh, that's a whole other topic, isn't it? Yeah.
Totally. But when you go and you think, oh God, I just want that brownie, or I'm just going to have whatever your vice is, whatever your go-to is in the middle of the afternoon, or not even in the middle of the afternoon, because you feel it. You're going towards that food because it's more comfort.
Okay.
Ask yourself, go into it, as you said, intentionally, go into it and think, I really, really want this ice cream right now. Let's just use that.
Yep.
And you think, but why do I want the ice cream? What am I trying to cover up? What am I trying to feed right now with a food that's not so nutritious as ice cream? And then after you've eaten the ice cream, notice how you feel. And when you notice how you feel afterwards, then you need to check in again a little bit. So it's mindful, and I'm not trying to make it sound like you're over analyzing the fact that
you're noticing. You're inviting pause and noticing, right?
That's
to step into that place of observation and not judgment, not like, because that place that when you have eaten the half tub of ice cream in one go, which may have happened recently, then there's a whole other conversation that starts in your head berating yourself of what you know was not a great choice. And we want to avoid stepping into that whole place.
So in this case, so how I support my clients is, first of all, okay, so you had the ice cream, no problem. How did you feel afterwards? From my sinuses got blocked to I had an upset stomach to I had more inflammation. So there's the physical side of things. How did you feel afterwards? If that shame came up, could you have taken a bowl instead of the whole carton with you to the couch? Right. So have the ice cream, but have a little less. But then also notice, did it help that emotional feeling that you were trying to feed? And then the next time, go and think, do I really need this?
Or what else could give me comfort?
Do I need a hug? Do I need a glass of water and come back? Do I need maybe a cup of tea? Do I need a moment?
Or music?
There are so many other alternatives that, especially at this time. And I have seriously found myself, and I'm sure everybody who's watching has to, you go to the fridge, you open the fridge, and you stand there. And nothing speaks to you. So you find something, or you close it and you go to the cupboard and then you pull it open. But what I've been doing lately is I just think there's nothing in here that's going to help me feel better. Because I'm sad, because I'm having a lonely moment, because I miss my friends, because I would like to do something other than be inside. And the answer is not in the fridge. The answer is in call a friend. And this was one of the original things.
You know what? Yeah. I think having that list of sort of go-to things that are fridge replacements, that might be your urge and your regular habit, especially now that the fridge is footsteps away. But what are the replacement things that you can go to and have a bunch there? Maybe even make it fun and have them in a jar and pull one out and go, okay, I'm going to do this because I know for sure those things make me happier. What is it? I know if I put on Prince When Doves Cry, I'm going to feel better. It's guaranteed. So figuring out what some of those go-tos are could be super powerful.
Yeah. What's nourishing emotionally for you in that moment when you're looking for the nourishment from the food?
I love that. I think that's probably my biggest takeaway. So it's moving from me when in the first couple of weeks after I could sense we were going into, and I didn't know what degree of lockdown we were going to go into, but I remember taking my last big shop at Costco and thinking, I'm going to buy every single thing that I want. I mean, the family size packs were in the car. I took everything. Well, one of the things I did to kind of minimize me eating solidly for the next 2 weeks was I left things in the car instead of bringing them into my home, because I thought I can't go shop, but I want to still have some distance between me to kind of support that pause, to support that I want fix of something. I want a flavor. Often it's a flavor. For me, Marmite toast with Marmite and butter on it. that's a
Yes.
kid comfort thing that there's nothing better. And if you don't like Marmite, I'm sorry, but it's
okay. It's not for
it's
everyone. Put eggs on top of
yeah,
it. It's even better.
it's, oh my gosh, right? It's like, but you're right, this emotional connection. But I thought a little bit of distance is going to support that pause. So I'm going to think that the hassle of putting my shoes on, going down in the elevator, and all the washing of my hands and stuff is going to make me think twice about going to get that food.
Yes.
So whatever
So
you can
powerful.
do to sort of support the pause, I think in that's where having more commitment to our intentions is going to be a little bit easier, perhaps.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wow, so much rich, nutritious information, nutritious for the brain and the way we're going to choose to live and go forward. I just want to check in with Sharon, who's listening to the call, to see if she might have a question for either you, Lianne, or for myself, whether it's to do with productivity, performance, or eating through this pandemic. So, Sharon, maybe you can let me know if you have any questions. You can unmute yourself, I think. If you do, how are you doing there, Sharon?
I'm doing great. I thought it's been very informative. Some really great tips and information and insights as to why I've been doing some of the things eating, and I found it very helpful. And I thought, one of my takeaways is the magnesium, just in terms of like helping with some of the physical activity and how to recover. But I thought this was great. Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you
You're
for being
so
along.
welcome. Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for joining us. All right. So Lianne, I just want to offer you an opportunity to, if people are going to take away one thing to think about differently with their relationship to food during this time where we are spending so much more time at home, what would you invite people to do differently or think about differently?
It is to notice. It is to notice what is it that you're trying to fix, to fill in whatever food that you're eating. And when I say that, it's unusual for someone to go and have an apple because they're down in the dumps. That's where I'm coming from. So what is it that you're looking for as you fly through the kitchen again on your commute to your desk and think, I'll just take something, I'll just grab that, or I'll just take that chocolate bar, or, why? What is it that's going on for you right now? And what else could you offer to yourself in terms of self-love before you get to that place? If the chocolate is the self-love, if the ice cream is the self-love, have at it and go for it without regret, because then the next time that's totally fine. I'm not saying don't eat the comfort foods. Maybe look at the quantity. Do I need as much, or do I actually need it in the first place? So there's many degrees and many steps within everything that I'm saying.
We're not about creating another micro loss here.
No,
overall, it's
all.
about
Not at all.
having a better feeling and a better experience going through this and after this, because this is all information to carry with you for the rest of your life. It's not just, we're focusing on it now, but it's not just about now. So Lianne, you mentioned a few things. I just want to recap where people can find you. Right behind you there, Sprout Right Family Food is your latest book with all kinds of fabulous recipes. On the YouTube channel, Sprout Right, you will see all of these cooking together videos that you've been recording. You've got your supplement line called Eat This, right? Take this. Sorry. Take this. That's right. The podcast is
supplement
Eat This.
Line.
Yes. The podcast is Eat This, which you can find everywhere. And it's LiannePhillipson.com.
Yes.
And SproutRight.
.com.
Okay, so I will put links for everyone there so they can find you and connect with you. And Lunch Rehab is the current
that just came out this morning. Last week's was Snack Rehab. I've done one of the other topics was bulletproof your immunity. I've talked about the quarantine 15. We've really been going through all the even meal planning, how to shop, every single aspect of this pandemic that we've been going through. Some things have eased a little bit. The episode on sleep was also really very, very welcome. A lot of people were really glad to have that information as well. And then the magnesium, as Sharon said, also came up for that. So do a little bit of research, have a look on sproutright.com for the specifics that I was talking about, because it does really make a difference when you look at the supplements you're taking. So it's just supportive for everybody.
Yeah. Well, thank you again for joining me and for this smorgasbord, if you will, of wonderful information that we've been able to share. And I wish
My pleasure.
everyone a continued fantastic experience working from home better. For more information from me, you can visit clarekumar.com, check out these videos on YouTube, and find out especially more about working from home better right on my homepage. All right, wishing you all a wonderful day. Get out there, get some movement, get some great nutrition, and wishing you